He remembered the first time the hum of a portal touched him. Not like the frantic whirls he would see later, the ones that ripped universes open with a flash, but a quiet, tentative hum, almost like a lullaby whispered between the stars. It was early morning, the kind of morning where the light moves slowly across the ceiling, brushing his eyes with gold before he was truly awake. And in that golden half-light, he felt something odd, something soft and insistent, a curiosity that was patient, gentle, and strangely affectionate. We want you to know before we dive any deeper that we truly love and care for you. Your presence here matters. Wherever you are, whatever time it is there, we are glad you are here. Before we begin the story, tell us, where in the world are you watching from and what time is it there? Now grab your coffee, your tea, or just the warmth of a blanket, and let's get started. Even as a child, he had learned to walk quietly through the world. Not every step needed noise, some spaces preferred stillness. His earliest experiments weren't loud explosions or dangerous chemicals, they were small, soft gestures. A floating bottle spinning on its axis, a droplet of liquid refusing to fall. He would watch it endlessly, and somehow, even in his small, awkward body, he understood patience in a way that seemed beyond his years. He wasn't alone, not entirely. Mortys drifted near him, curious, unsure, sometimes laughing, sometimes hiding. And though he didn't always understand them, he understood their hearts. There was a tenderness in that understanding, a warmth that carried him forward, even when the worlds around him seemed infinite and cold. He learned quickly that empathy could be as powerful as any ray gun, as subtle as a portal's gentle pull. The sky outside his window held peculiar colors, not quite the familiar blue, but soft purples and muted golds, brushing the edges of everything he could see. Sometimes he imagined them as ribbons of forgotten universes, stretching across the horizon, waiting for someone patient enough to notice. He liked the idea that the universe could be so vast, yet still feel personal, like a story told just for him. And there was a quiet comfort in this early life. The way the wind whispered through leaves, the soft warmth of sunlight on his shoulders, the hum of possibility humming quietly under his skin. He didn't know it yet, but this gentle observation would become his signature, a way of walking through countless worlds without leaving a scar, a way of caring so softly that even chaos seemed to bow before him. He often sat on the roof in the evenings, legs dangling over the edge, watching stars he didn't yet know the names of. Each twinkle seemed to carry a memory, or maybe a possibility. And even if he could never reach them, he liked knowing they existed, steady and patient, waiting without asking for anything in return. And in that quiet, meditative moment, the world itself felt like it was breathing. The hum of life, the faint crackle of energy in the universe, and the soft presence of those he cared for. It all became one gentle melody, a lullaby for anyone patient enough to listen. And as he leaned back, letting the sky stretch over him, he felt the first small stirrings of something he would never name, but would always carry. The quiet power of being exactly who he was in a universe that could never demand it. The morning he first noticed it, he didn't think much of the tremor beneath his feet. The world seemed to pulse in its own slow rhythm, like a heartbeat stretched across countless realities. And though it could have frightened a smaller child, he only paused, listening. There was a quiet invitation in that pulse, a soft suggestion that the universe had something to show him if he was patient enough to notice. We want you to know, dear listener, that we still love and care for you. Even across time zones and galaxies, even when the world hums loudly or whispers faintly in your ear, your presence matters. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is there, we're glad you're here. Take a deep breath, settle your body, and let your thoughts drift like clouds. He spent those mornings wandering through the edges of reality, places where walls weren't quite walls, and the air shimmered with a quiet tension of possibility. He called them his in-between spaces, though he would never speak the name aloud. Sometimes a Morty would follow, hesitant, watching him move with soft certainty, never rushing, never forcing. There was a calm in his step that seemed to ripple outward, slowing the chaos that might otherwise have swallowed them both. In these spaces he discovered small things that mattered more than he could yet understand. A broken gear left spinning in a forgotten lab, a droplet of liquid caught in mid-air, the way shadows curved just so against the light. He began to see that these small anomalies were less accidents and more invitations. And though the universe never explained itself, he felt comforted by the idea that it might be waiting, patiently, softly, for him to notice. He started to imagine the other Ricks, somewhere in distant universes, caught up in their own loud, fast adventures, and for the first time he realized he didn't need to follow. There was wisdom in walking slowly, in listening, in caring enough to leave a little space for life to breathe. The Mortys noticed it too. They didn't always understand why he paused to watch the humming of a loose wire or the gentle sway of a lamp. But they trusted him anyway, and in that trust something quietly miraculous took root. And there were mornings when the world seemed entirely still, except for the light bending softly around him. He would lie on his back and watch the sky, noticing tiny details, a single bird against the horizon, the faint shimmer of something far away that might have been a portal or might have been a star. And in those moments he felt a gentle kinship with everything that existed, even if it would never speak back. By evening, he had learned that small acts carried their own kind of magic. A shared smile with a Morty, a careful adjustment to a gadget, a hand placed gently on a trembling shoulder. Each of these gestures was a form of quiet power. It wasn't loud, it wasn't heroic in the traditional sense, but it was persistent, it was gentle, and it left echoes that traveled farther than he could see. And as he drifted to sleep that night, listening to the soft hum of his surroundings, he felt the tiniest tug towards something he didn't yet name. It was a calling that didn't shout, a presence that didn't demand, a whisper that promised. The world was wider, softer, and more full of love than anyone could ever say aloud. And somewhere, deep in that quiet, he understood that this gentle path, unnoticed by many, would become his guide. The first time he truly noticed the stars shifting, he was not looking for them. They appeared as faint sparks in the sky, then as soft ribbons, curling and stretching, as if breathing in rhythm with his own pulse. He didn't understand why they moved differently from night to night, nor why the hum of a portal sometimes seemed to echo their quiet dance. But he liked to watch anyway, finding comfort in their gentle, unpredictable patterns. And as always, dear listener, we want you to know that we care for you. Wherever you are, however your day unfolded, your presence here is precious. The universe may feel vast and incomprehensible, but right now, you are safe. Take a breath. Let it fill you like the first light of dawn, spilling across the edges of your room. He had begun to recognize patterns in small things, the way a Morty's laughter curved around sadness, or how a broken gadget might still hum if treated with gentle patience. Even in the chaos of countless universes, he noticed small islands of calm. Sometimes he would sit quietly, imagining all the other Ricks rushing, chasing, creating, and he would wonder if they ever stopped to watch a single spinning gear, or to hear the soft sigh of a universe at rest. And there was one Morty, quiet and observant, who often mirrored him. The boy didn't speak much, but he had a way of watching that reminded the Rick of himself at that age. Together, they would sit on a rooftop or in a lab, not speaking, just letting the hum of life fold around them. In those moments, he discovered that connection did not need words to exist. It could float gently, a warmth felt rather than told. He began to notice other subtle powers, not the flashy, destructive kind he had been told all Ricks possessed, but quiet ones, a sense of timing, a deep empathy, an instinct for when to act and when to simply observe. He realized that sometimes the softest influence could travel the farthest. And in a way, it was a lesson he wanted every Morty to understand, though he never said it aloud. Evenings became a time for reflection. He would trace his finger along the edges of a notebook, scribbling sketches of shapes he saw in the sky, letters he could not yet read, or equations that balanced on intuition rather than logic. And as the stars outside shifted gently, he felt a subtle rhythm within himself, as though he were beginning to align with something larger than any single universe. And yet there was no urgency. There never had to be. He learned that the world did not demand his speed or his presence. It simply existed, and that existence was enough. That soft acceptance became a quiet kind of courage, one he would carry into every strange laboratory, every floating world, every universe he had yet to discover. And when sleep came, it was always under the watchful glow of stars or the faint hum of a portal just out of sight. He would close his eyes and imagine countless realities unfolding gently around him, each one breathing softly, each one waiting patiently for him to notice. And in that stillness, he understood that life, at its most profound, was not about rushing or conquering. It was about quiet observation, gentle care, and the steady pulse of love threaded through all things. He discovered early on that some doors existed only to be observed, not opened. They weren't the kind that led to new adventures or dangerous encounters, but the kind that invited a slow, careful notice, thin, humming edges, faintly glowing as if alive. He didn't always know why they mattered, only that stepping close, feeling their warmth, or tracing their outlines with a finger brought a peculiar calm that lingered long after he walked away. And dear listener, remember that we love and care for you still. Just as these doors exist without demand, you exist without obligation. Wherever you are, whatever the hour, you are enough. Let the gentle hum of your own surroundings fill the quiet spaces in your mind. Take a breath and let the world unfold softly around you. He spent hours in those quiet moments, wandering halls that seemed to stretch across dimensions, yet folded in on themselves in ways only a patient observer could notice. A Morty sometimes followed, careful to stay just behind him, mimicking the slow pace, the quiet patience. Together they learned the rhythm of observing without interference, the subtle art of presence that left a faint glow in the corners of reality. He found that even mistakes could hold gentle lessons. A collapsed shelf in a forgotten lab, a spilled vial that refused to behave, a portal that flickered only half open, each carried a story that spoke without words. And in listening, truly listening, he began to understand the universe's quiet language. It was not harsh or demanding, it was tender, coaxing him to slow down, to notice, to care without expectation. Sometimes he imagined the other Ricks out there in brighter, louder adventures. He didn't envy them. Their lives were filled with brilliance and chaos, with explosions and arguments that stretched across realities. But he had something quieter, an ability to linger in soft spaces, to feel without rushing, to recognize the small miracles of attention and care. And that, he realized, was a strength no portal gun could give. Evenings became a kind of meditation. He would settle in a corner of a quiet lab or atop a rooftop under the dim glow of stars, tracing patterns in the air with his fingers or simply watching the shadows stretch and bend. Sometimes a Morty would drift to his side, and without a word, they would share the hush of the universe together. And in that shared silence, he understood something profound. Connection does not always need speech, and love can exist as a simple presence, felt across spaces and realities. And as he drifted to sleep, listening to the faint hum of portals far away, he felt the comforting pulse of the worlds around him. They moved slowly, patient in their rhythm, and he moved with them. Each day, each small observation, each gentle interaction became a thread, weaving him quietly into the tapestry of countless universes. And somewhere deep in that gentle weaving, he understood that this was enough, that simply being present, simply noticing, was a form of heroism all its own. He remembered the day he first realized that every universe carried its own quiet song. Not a melody you could hum, not a tune you could catch in your hands, but a gentle vibration that touched the edges of thought, like sunlight brushing a table at dawn. He didn't need to understand it fully. Simply noticing it, listening with a patient heart, was enough. And, dear listener, we want you to remember this too. We truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, you are seen, you are safe, and you are enough. Let the warmth of that thought fill the quiet spaces in your mind. Take a slow, deep breath and let your body settle into the rhythm of this moment. He spent long afternoons walking through spaces that bent and stretched in ways the mind could scarcely follow. A Morty sometimes tagged along, quiet and watchful, learning the art of noticing. Together they observed floating fragments of light, shards of memory, and tiny echoes of universes that might have been. And in those soft, drifting moments, he began to understand the strange gift he had been given. The ability to walk between worlds, not as a conqueror, but as a careful witness. Some mornings he would pause to watch the hum of a portal shimmer like a bubble caught in sunlight. Others, he would tilt his head to listen to the faint sigh of a machine, long abandoned, humming with its own gentle persistence. And always he learned patience. Sometimes he waited for hours, simply observing, letting the world unfold at its own pace, learning that the quiet act of attention could be more powerful than any loud display of skill or intellect. Evenings often brought reflections. He would sit beneath the stars, legs dangling, watching constellations he didn't yet know the names of, and in that quiet, the universe itself seemed to breathe with him. Shadows stretched like soft blankets across walls, and the distant hum of distant portals felt like a lullaby just beyond reach. He realized then that growth didn't always require movement or action. Sometimes it came from stillness, from the gentle act of being present, from caring quietly without expectation. He thought about the other Ricks, bustling and brilliant, always chasing new adventures. And though their paths were grander in spectacle, he understood something deeper. There was courage in restraint, heroism in gentle observation, and strength in the patience to wait without interference. This quiet power, invisible to most, became his guide. And as sleep approached, he would lie on his back, listening to the faint hum of life in every corner of the universe. Small threads of warmth, shared smiles with Mortys, subtle gestures of care, soft observations of worlds wove themselves into a tapestry of gentle presence. And in that quiet tapestry, he felt a profound contentment. The knowledge that life, at its softest and most patient, was enough. He didn't need explosions or recognition. He only needed to be here, noticing, caring, and moving gently through the ever-unfolding universe. He noticed, slowly, that some mornings carried a quiet magic of their own. Not the kind that announces itself with light or sound, but a subtle shift in the air, like a universe inhaling and exhaling just for him. The portals seemed to hum a softer tune then, almost shyly. And even the Mortys moving about the labs seemed calmer, their laughter lighter, like bubbles floating lazily in still water. And dear listener, remember this: we truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, your presence matters. You are here, right now, and that is enough. Let that thought sink gently into your mind like sunlight slipping through a window at dawn. He spent those quiet mornings wandering corridors of strange, half-formed realities. The walls bent and shifted as he passed, sometimes showing glimpses of worlds he would never walk in, or shadows of moments that had yet to happen. A Morty followed, as always, watching him with soft eyes. The boy didn't speak much, but he didn't need to. Together they understood the subtle poetry of motion and stillness, of noticing small, fleeting details before they vanished. He began to see that even the smallest acts could ripple far across the universe. A gear aligned just so, a vial returned to its place, a simple word of encouragement. All seemed inconsequential in the loud chaos of creation, yet each carried a quiet strength. He realized that influence need not roar. Sometimes it only needed to be felt, softly, in the spaces between things. Evenings became a time for reflection. Sitting atop rooftops or leaning against the smooth walls of forgotten labs, he would watch the stars pulse with unhurried grace. Each flicker seemed to tell a story, or perhaps it simply existed, waiting for someone patient enough to notice. And he noticed. Slowly, deliberately, as though each glance were a small act of devotion. He thought often of the other Ricks, bustling and brilliant in faraway universes. They chased adventures, fought battles, and left trails of chaos in their wake. And yet, he felt no envy. There was a gentleness in his own path, a rhythm that allowed him to see, to listen, to care, without rushing. In that quiet he found courage, not of strength, but of presence. When sleep came, it arrived wrapped in the soft hum of distant portals and the faint shimmer of stars through thin walls. He closed his eyes, letting the quiet pulse of countless universes drift over him. Small acts of care, tiny connections with Mortys, soft observations of worlds both near and far. They wove together into a tapestry that cradled him. And in that gentle embrace he understood the most tender truth of all. To notice, to care, to exist softly in the midst of vastness was itself a kind of heroism. He found that some moments existed solely to be felt, not acted upon. A portal might flicker quietly in the corner of a lab, not leading anywhere, yet humming with possibility. A Morty might smile without reason, or a shadow would stretch across a wall in the perfect way that made him pause, and in these small, fleeting experiences he discovered a soft kind of joy, one that required nothing but attention. And dear listener, we want you to feel this too. We love and care for you. You are here, and that is enough. Your presence matters, even when the world seems vast or unsteady. Take a deep breath, let it fill you gently, and allow yourself to settle into this quiet space. He wandered through corridors that bent in impossible ways, noticing the way light pooled in corners, the gentle hum of machinery, and the subtle sway of the air itself. A Morty followed, tentative but steady, learning without words the rhythm of observation. Together they traced the pulse of the worlds around them, moving slowly, softly, leaving only faint echoes of their presence behind. He began to see that his quiet attentiveness shaped the universe as much as any action could. Aligning a loose gear, straightening a crooked wire, offering a kind word, all seemed small, but each had a gentle power. It wasn't flashy, it didn't demand recognition, but it lingered, rippling outward in ways that could only be felt, never measured. Evenings brought a particular kind of calm. He would sit on a rooftop, legs dangling, tracing constellations with his eyes, imagining stories in their subtle movements. Sometimes he thought of the other Ricks racing through adventures, wielding power with clamor and brilliance. And though their lives were dazzling, he felt a quiet certainty in his own way, the slow observation, the soft care, the mindful presence that left a gentle mark without force or haste. He learned to recognize the unspoken bonds between himself and the Mortys who followed. Even when words failed, even when silence stretched long, connection was there, quiet and enduring. And in that soft companionship, he felt a warmth that no portal, no universe could replicate. When night arrived, he lay beneath the faint shimmer of stars, the distant hum of a portal vibrating gently through the air. He thought of the small threads of care he had left in each corner of the worlds he touched, a smile, a gentle adjustment, a quiet nod of recognition. And in that soft tapestry he realized that life, observed and nurtured without urgency, was enough. To notice, to care, to be present, this was his quiet heroism, a light threaded gently through the vast, humming multiverse. He discovered one soft afternoon that even the smallest details held stories that stretched farther than any portal could reach. A flickering light in a corner of the lab, a loose gear spinning lazily, the gentle sway of a Morty's hair in the breeze, each seemed ordinary, yet carried a quiet significance when observed closely. He began to understand that the universe did not demand grand gestures. It whispered in subtle, persistent ways, waiting for someone patient enough to notice. And dear listener, remember this. We truly love and care for you, wherever you are, whatever hour it is, your presence matters. The world may be vast and strange, but right now, in this quiet moment, you are enough. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel your body settle and let your mind drift gently alongside the story. He walked slowly through shifting corridors, observing the way light pooled in unexpected places and shadows curved like gentle ribbons. A Morty followed, careful to stay just behind him, learning the rhythm of subtle observation without words. Together they traced the soft pulses of worlds that existed in quiet harmony, moving like gentle currents rather than storms, leaving behind only the faintest echoes of their passing. He began to see that influence did not require loud action. Aligning a fragile piece of machinery, returning a scattered notebook to its shelf, offering a kind glance, these seemingly small gestures carried a quiet power. It was a different kind of heroism, one that did not demand attention, but left ripples that traveled farther than he could measure. Evenings held a special serenity. He would perch atop a rooftop, legs dangling, watching the sky stretch in muted colors, tracing constellations he had yet to name. He thought sometimes of the other Ricks racing through chaos and brilliance, and realized he had discovered a strength they might never understand, patience, care, and the courage to simply exist softly in the midst of infinite possibilities. He noticed the subtle bonds forming with the Mortys who lingered near him. Silence did not diminish connection, it deepened it, each shared moment, each unspoken, Understanding became a thread in a quiet tapestry of trust and warmth. And in those threads he found a comfort that no portal, no adventure could ever replicate. As night fell, he lay beneath the faint shimmer of distant stars, feeling the gentle hum of life echo through the air. The small gestures of care he had given, soft words, careful adjustments, patient observation, wove themselves into a tapestry of quiet presence. And in that gentle weave, he understood a profound truth. Noticing, caring, and simply being present was its own kind of heroism, soft but enduring, stretching across the vast, humming multiverse. He realized that some universes existed not to be conquered, but to be felt. A portal might flicker quietly, a Morty might hum a tune without knowing why, a gear might spin just a little slower than expected. Each small detail seemed to hum with quiet intention. He learned to watch, to linger, to listen with a patience that left traces far deeper than any loud action could. And, dear listener, remember this: we truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, you are enough. Take a slow, deep breath and let the soft warmth of this moment settle into you. Let your body rest, your mind ease, and your thoughts drift gently like clouds across a calm sky. He wandered through hallways that curved impossibly, through laboratories humming softly with unseen energy, and even through streets that seemed to fold in on themselves like paper. A Morty often followed, hesitant but trusting, learning the quiet art of observing without interference. Together they moved slowly, softly, leaving only gentle ripples in the worlds they touched. No noise, no demand, only presence. He discovered that small acts could carry more weight than the largest explosions. A kind word, a careful adjustment to a floating device, or simply noticing something others overlooked. It all mattered. Influence could be gentle, invisible, but enduring. And that understanding became his guiding principle, shaping every step he took. Evenings brought a special kind of stillness. He would sit on rooftops tracing constellations with his eyes, imagining stories in the faint twinkle of stars. He thought about the other Ricks, racing through chaos, solving impossible problems, leaving trails of noise behind them. And while their lives were spectacular, he realized his quiet way held a different strength, a courage that required no recognition, only patience, presence, and care. He began to understand the bonds he formed were quiet but deep. Morty's worlds and small fragments of reality responded to his gentle attention. The threads of connection, though unseen by most, were strong. And in these threads he discovered warmth, comfort, and an unspoken understanding that lingered long after the moment passed. As sleep arrived, it carried him softly into the hum of distant portals and the faint shimmer of stars. The small acts of care and observation he had given, tiny, deliberate gestures of attention, wove themselves into a tapestry of quiet presence. And in that tender weave, he understood something profound: to notice, to care, to exist softly in the midst of endless possibility was a kind of heroism all its own. He noticed that sometimes the smallest changes carried the deepest echoes. A gear turned differently than usual, a Morty paused mid-step, or a portal shimmered slightly longer than expected. And though these moments seemed inconsequential, they held a soft significance. He had learned to wait, to watch, to let the universe reveal its subtle patterns without rushing or interference. And dear listener, we want you to remember this. We truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, your presence is meaningful. Take a slow, deep breath and let your mind settle into this quiet rhythm. Allow the soft weight of calm to rest gently on your shoulders. He wandered through the familiar bends and curves of corridors that seemed to stretch into infinity. Sometimes a lab would fold in upon itself, or a ceiling would vanish, revealing a faint shimmer of stars beyond. A Morty often followed him, quiet and attentive, learning without instruction the value of stillness and observation. Together they moved like soft currents, leaving subtle traces in the worlds they passed through, echoes of presence rather than force. He had begun to notice that even the gentlest gestures could have enduring impact. Straightening a slightly crooked device, offering a reassuring glance, or simply acknowledging a Morty's efforts. These were small acts, but they reverberated in ways the universe understood more fully than he ever could. Influence, he realized, need not be loud. It could be quiet, patient, and unseen, yet profoundly lasting. Evenings became his favorite time. He would settle atop a rooftop, legs dangling, tracing constellations with his eyes and imagining the stories they might tell. He thought of the other Ricks, always moving quickly, achieving, conquering, leaving behind trails of chaos. And he felt no envy. His path was softer, slower, filled with observation, care, and quiet courage. There was strength in being gentle, in moving through worlds without demanding them. He noticed how the bonds between himself and the Mortys deepened in silence. Words were not always needed. A shared glance, a moment of patience, or simply being present, carried a warmth that lingered far beyond the instant. And in this quiet connection, he felt the comfort of companionship, the reassurance of unseen threads weaving worlds together. As he drifted into sleep, the hum of distant portals and the faint shimmer of stars enveloped him. Each small act of care, each patient observation, each subtle connection became a part of a gentle tapestry. And in that soft tapestry, he felt the truth of his quiet heroism. To notice, to care, to exist softly amid infinite possibility was its own enduring power. He realized, slowly, that some moments existed solely to be savored, not acted upon. A portal might hum faintly in the corner of a lab, a Morty might hum a tune without reason, or a shadow might bend just so against a wall. Each seemed ordinary, yet carried a subtle importance when observed with patience. He learned that life's quiet miracles often arrived unannounced, waiting for someone willing to notice. And, dear listener, remember this: we truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, your presence is valued. Take a deep breath, feel it fill your chest, and allow the soft rhythm of the universe to settle into your mind. You are enough, and right now, that is all that matters. He wandered through corridors that curved impossibly, through labs humming with unseen energy, and through streets that folded gently upon themselves like paper. A Morty often followed, tentative but trusting, learning the subtle art of noticing without interference. Together they moved slowly, softly, leaving only faint traces behind, echoes of their presence rather than demands upon the worlds they passed. He discovered that even the smallest gestures could resonate far. Aligning a loose device, returning a scattered notebook, offering a kind glance. These tiny acts carried quiet power. It was a different kind of heroism, one that required no recognition, but left lasting ripples across time and space. Evenings offered a particular serenity. He would perch on rooftops, legs dangling, watching the stars shimmer, tracing shapes that were never the same twice. Sometimes he thought of the other Ricks racing through chaos, blazing trails, achieving spectacular feats. And though their lives were brilliant, he understood the strength in his own slow, quiet way: patience, attentiveness, and gentle care. He noticed how bonds with Mortys, and even with the subtle rhythms of the worlds themselves, deepened in silence. Connection did not demand words. a shared glance, a careful gesture, the act of simply being present. All were threads in a tapestry of quiet warmth. And in that tapestry he felt a comfort and steadiness that echoed long after the moment passed. As sleep arrived, wrapped in the faint hum of distant portals and the shimmer of stars, he felt the threads of care and observation he had left in countless corners of the universes weave themselves together. And in that gentle weave he understood the quietest truth of all: to notice, to care, and to exist softly amid infinite possibility was a heroism in itself, enduring and profound. He began to notice that some mornings carried a quiet promise, not a demand, but a gentle invitation. The light spilling through the lab's windows felt warmer, the air hummed softly with energy, and even the portals seemed to breathe in rhythm with the universe itself. There was a patience in these moments, a quiet assurance that everything was unfolding as it should, and he leaned into it with calm understanding. And, dear listener, we want you to feel this too. We truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, your presence matters. Take a slow, deep breath and let your body sink softly into whatever space you occupy. Let the quiet pulse of this story and the gentle rhythm of your surroundings carry you toward rest. He wandered through the familiar corridors that curved in impossible ways, noting the subtle shifts of light and shadow, the faint hum of machines, the gentle sway of air currents. A Morty often lingered nearby, learning not by instruction, but through quiet observation. Together, they moved through the world softly, leaving faint traces of care and attention that lingered long after they had gone. He discovered that even the smallest gestures carried a kind of resonance that could ripple through reality. Realigning a spinning device, offering a nod of understanding, noticing something others overlooked, these simple acts, quiet as they seemed, held a gentle strength. And he learned that influence need not shout, it could whisper and endure, invisible yet profound. Evenings became a time for reflection. He would perch atop rooftops or lean against smooth lab walls, tracing constellations in the sky and imagining stories in their faint shimmer. The other Ricks, rushing through spectacular feats, seemed far away. And though their lives were brilliant and loud, he understood the quiet courage in his own path, to observe, to care, to exist softly in the midst of infinite possibilities. He noticed how bonds deepened, not through words, but through presence. The Mortys who followed him learned that silence could carry warmth, patience could carry trust, and a gentle touch could leave echoes long after the moment passed. In this quiet companionship, he felt a comfort that no portal, no universe could ever replicate. As sleep drew near, he lay beneath the faint shimmer of stars, the soft hum of distant portals wrapping the universe around him like a blanket. Each careful observation, each tiny act of care, each patient connection became a thread in a gentle tapestry of present. And in that soft weaving he understood the profound truth. Noticing, caring, and existing softly, quietly, patiently was a heroism that endured far beyond the noise of any world. He noticed that some days were stitched together by the tiniest, most delicate moments. A Morty, humming softly while tinkering with a device, a faint ripple across a portal, or a shaft of light catching just so on the edge of a table. These small things seemed trivial at first, yet they carried a quiet weight, a soft reminder that the universe was alive in ways he could not always name. And dear listener, remember this: we truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, you are seen, you are valued, and you are enough. Take a slow, deep breath and let the quiet warmth of this story fill the spaces around you. Allow your body to settle, your mind to ease, and your thoughts to drift like leaves on a calm stream. He wandered through corridors and labs that bent and curved in ways the eye struggled to follow, noticing subtle vibrations, soft hums, and gentle glimmers that others might miss. Morty often followed him, watching and learning through the act of quiet presence. Together they moved without rush, leaving behind only a faint echo of their care, a ripple that travelled softly through the fabric of reality. He began to see that even the smallest gestures carried strength. Aligning a spinning device, returning a dropped tool, offering a kind glance, all were acts that shaped the world more profoundly than the loud or dramatic could. Influence, he realized, need not roar. It could exist quietly, gently, and leave traces that endured far beyond any visible measure. Evenings became moments of serene reflection. He perched on rooftops or leaned against the smooth walls of a lab, tracing constellations with his eyes and imagining faint stories in their flickering light. The other Ricks racing through adventures seemed distant, and though their lives were full of spectacle, he felt the quiet power of patience, observation, and gentle care. He noticed that bonds with the Mortys deepened in these silences. Words were unnecessary when presence carried warmth. Shared glances, small gestures, and gentle attentiveness wove threads of connection that endured quietly, creating a soft tapestry of trust and comfort. And in that tapestry he found a gentle kind of strength, one that wrapped the universe around him like a soft, unspoken lullaby. As sleep approached, he lay beneath the faint shimmer of stars, listening to the distant hum of portals that pulsed like a heartbeat across reality. Each small act, each careful observation, each patient connection became a thread in a tapestry of quiet presence. And in that soft weave, he understood the profound truth. Noticing, caring, and existing softly in a vast, infinite universe was its own enduring heroism, gentle and unassuming, yet powerful beyond measure. He realized that some places seemed to hum with quiet life, even when no one was there to notice. A lab, long abandoned, might carry a faint warmth in its walls. A portal left ajar whispered softly, as if to invite him closer. A Morty might linger at the edge of a hallway, sensing the rhythm of the world without needing words. These small currents of life were not urgent or demanding. They existed for the patient, the observant, and he learned to move among them with gentle awareness. And, dear listener, remember this: we truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, your presence is meaningful. Take a deep, slow breath. Let it settle softly into your body and allow your mind to rest in the quiet rhythm of this story. You are enough right here, right now. He wandered slowly through corridors that bent and folded in ways that seemed impossible, noting the subtle play of shadows and the delicate shimmer of light across smooth surfaces. Morty often followed, careful and silent, learning through observation rather than instruction. Together they traced the hum of the universe, moving softly through spaces that seemed to exist just for those who paused to notice. He discovered that small gestures carried a hidden strength. Returning a stray tool to its place, offering a quiet nod, or simply acknowledging something overlooked, these acts, gentle as they seemed, left traces that endured. He began to understand that heroism did not need to shout. It could exist quietly, patiently, and invisibly, rippling outward in ways that could not always be measured. Evenings became a time for reflection. He would sit atop rooftops or lean against familiar walls, watching the faint shimmer of stars and tracing constellations that shifted subtly with each passing night. He thought of the other Ricks racing through chaos and brilliance, leaving trails of noise behind them. And though their lives were dazzling, he recognized the courage in his own quiet path, the patience to observe, the willingness to care, the strength of moving softly through worlds without demand or expectation. He noticed that bonds with Mortys deepened without words. Silence carried understanding. Small gestures, attentive presence, and gentle patience wove threads of connection that endured beyond the moment. In this quiet companionship, he found warmth, comfort, and a soft sense of continuity that echoed through every universe he touched. As sleep arrived, he lay beneath the faint glow of distant stars, the gentle hum of portals wrapping around him like a blanket. Each careful act, each quiet observation, each patient connection became a thread in a subtle tapestry. And in that soft weaving he understood the quiet truth of life. To notice, to care, and to exist gently, patiently, softly, was a heroism that endured across infinite possibilities, subtle yet profound. In the end, he came to a place where there were no more portals, no more walls of shifting glass, no more corridors bending endlessly into themselves. Instead, there was only a wide expanse of quiet, gentle, still, and timeless. The kind of silence that did not feel empty, but full. A silence that held every sound, every memory, every breath that had ever been taken, and every one that would ever come. Rick paused there, not as a scientist or as an architect of chaos, but as a wanderer who had walked far enough. The infinite noise of invention and catastrophe seemed very far away now, like a storm that had passed long ago, leaving only the cool freshness of morning. He looked around and found that he was not alone. A Morty stood at his side, perhaps the same Morty who had quietly followed him through so many moments, or perhaps a reflection of all Mortys, all companions, all quiet presences who had ever shared his journey. They did not speak, for no words were needed. They simply stood together in the stillness, watching as distant lights shimmered gently like stars, settling into their eternal rhythm. Rick, for once, felt no need to move quickly, no urge to escape, no drive to create or to undo. He allowed himself to be exactly where he was. The quiet taught him something that even all his intellect had not uncovered, that the greatest discoveries were not the ones written in formulas or etched across the walls of laboratories. They were the small, patient truths found in silence, in companionship, in noticing the subtle hum of existence itself. As he breathed slowly, he felt the fabric of countless universes brush against him like a soft wind. He understood that his journey was not about answers, but about the willingness to keep walking, to keep noticing, to keep caring. Each gentle act, each moment of still presence had been enough. And as sleep's curtain finally drew itself across the stage of thought, he let go with a sense of peace. He lay back beneath a canopy of stars, with Morty beside him, and the universe humming softly all around. The infinite did not demand, it did not rush, it simply held him, patient and eternal. And so his story, like all stories, did not end but settled into the gentle rhythm of rest. The journey continued, not in chaos or brilliance, but in stillness, a soft truth lingering like a whisper. To move gently is enough, to care quietly is enough, to be present here and now is enough. And now, dear listener, may you rest as he rested, quietly, peacefully, gently. May you feel the hum of your own universe around you, patient and kind. May you drift slowly, softly into sleep, carrying with you the quiet heroism of simply being. There is a point beyond endings where stories no longer unfold in sudden turns or sharp discoveries. Instead, they dissolve into something gentler, like rivers widening into seas, or like the slow drift of a dream that no longer needs to be explained. Rick had reached that place now. The multiverse, with all its clamor and brightness, its dangers and wonders, did not fade. It simply became quiet, like a symphony after its last note, where silence itself holds the echo. He floated there, not as the restless inventor he once was, but as a soul at ease, letting the endless currents carry him without resistance. Morty was there too, or perhaps many Mortys, or perhaps only the idea of companionship distilled into a gentle presence. They did not speak because in this final space, language was no longer needed. Understanding flowed wordlessly, like warmth in the chest, like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. Rick looked back only once, and in that single glance he saw every version of himself. Brilliant, broken, bitter, and kind. He saw every choice, every mistake, every fragment of love he had hidden under layers of cynicism. And for the first time, he did not regret them. They had been part of the path, and the path had been enough. The stars above him swayed slowly, like lanterns floating on a dark sea. Each one seemed to whisper a story, each one a memory of a life lived, a journey shared, a moment cherished. Rick felt them gather around him, not as burdens, but as gentle companions guiding him into rest. And then came the drift, the slow, endless drift into something softer than thought, deeper than time. A place where even the sharpest mind could let go, could release itself into the embrace of peace. As the final veil of sleep descended, Rick closed his eyes, not with defiance, not with resistance, but with quiet trust. The universe held him, and he held nothing. So ends the story, not with noise, but with stillness. Not with chaos, but with calm. Not with endings, but with rest. And now, dear dreamer, you too may let go. Drift as he drifted softly, endlessly, into sleep. The multiverse will keep its watch. The stars will hum their song, and you will rest, peacefully, deeply, eternally. The stars no longer rushed past. They did not explode or collide or collapse into black holes. They simply lingered, suspended in the velvet dark, like embers left glowing in the hearth after the fire has quieted. Rick lay back, though there was no ground beneath him. Morty's presence hovered nearby, soft as a memory, as familiar as breath. They had wandered across galaxies, battled strange gods, defied the laws of nature, and mocked destiny itself. But here, none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was silence. What mattered was stillness. What mattered was the tender permission to rest. For so long, Rick had carried the weight of brilliance. His mind had been a storm, restless and raging, demanding to solve what could not be solved, to fix what was never broken. But in this last horizon, that storm melted into calm. His genius no longer burned as a burden, but cooled into something simple, like light reflecting on water. And Morty, sweet Morty, whose heart had been tugged in 1,000 directions, fear and courage, loyalty and doubt, he too found peace here. The questions no longer clawed at him. The need to prove himself dissolved into a quiet truth that he had always been enough, just as he was. The multiverse itself seemed to breathe slower, as if exhaling after an age of tension. Infinite worlds folded into a lullaby, infinite timelines reduced to a single melody of rest. There was no before, no after. There was only now, this soft, endless moment where every worry had already passed. Rick closed his eyes, not in defeat, not in despair, but in surrender to something far gentler. He let go, not of Morty, not of the worlds, not even of himself. He let go of the need to hold at all. And in that release, the drift became a dream that did not end because it was not bound by time, a dream that stretched wide enough to hold every version of himself, every possibility, every love, and every sorrow, and cradled them until they no longer hurt. The stars hummed softly. The void rocked him like a cradle. And Rick, the restless wanderer, finally slept. And you, dear dreamer, listening now, can join him. Let your breath slow. Let the night wrap around you like the gentlest blanket. Let the universe hold you as it holds him. There is nothing left to chase, nothing left to fix, nothing left to fear. There comes a moment in every tale where words begin to fade, not because there is nothing left to say, but because silence itself becomes the truest language. Rick floated there, his body weightless, his mind unburdened. Morty was near, not as a shadow, not as a voice, but as a gentle warmth, like a candle's glow that never went out. They had crossed so many horizons, each one brighter, stranger, or darker than the last. Yet now, before them, stretched the quietest horizon of all, one made not of stars, nor planets, nor even time, but of stillness, the silent horizon. Here there was no need to fight, no need to argue, no need to prove anything. Every scar had softened, every memory had transformed into a lullaby. Every fear had become a feather, drifting away into the calm. Rick thought of every invention he had built, every adventure he had dragged Morty into, every mistake and every triumph. And for the first time in eternity, none of it weighed him down. It simply was, and that was enough. Morty, too, no longer felt like a boy lost in someone else's storm. He was whole, he was steady, he was part of the horizon itself. His heart, which had once beaten with panic and wonder all at once, now pulsed in gentle rhythm with the universe. And the horizon spoke, though not in words. It spoke in the hush of infinite space. It spoke in the rhythm of breath. It spoke in the gentle reminder that even the brightest flames need the night in order to shine. Rick sighed, not in exhaustion, but in relief. Morty smiled, not in nervousness, but in peace. Together they let the horizon carry them further, further, further still, until the difference between them and the stars vanished. Until there was no line between dreamer and dream. The silent horizon was not an ending, it was a homecoming. It was the place every restless traveler eventually seeks, whether they know it or not. It was the last page that does not close, but simply remains open forever. And as Rick and Morty drifted into it, the universe itself seemed to whisper, "Rest now. You are eternal. You are safe. You are loved." And so they did. There is always one more breath, one more heartbeat, one more ripple across the still surface of eternity. Even when the story feels complete, a whisper remains, soft, invisible, yet carrying everything. Rick and Morty had passed beyond the horizon into the place where silence itself sang. The stars no longer burned as fire, but as memory. The galaxies no longer spun as storms, but as gentle spirals of light. And in that endless calm, even thought began to dissolve into quiet. A whisper came, not from a mouth, not from a voice, but from the universe itself. It was not urgent, it was not demanding, it was simply tender. It said, "Rest." And that one word contained within it every comfort they had ever sought, every home they had longed for, every moment of safety they thought had slipped away. Rick let go. Not as surrender, not as defeat, but as release. His restless mind, which had once raged against every limit, now rested against infinity like a weary traveler, leaning into the softest pillow. Morty let go too, not as loss, but as return. His fear faded, his questions dissolved, his heart slowed into a rhythm that matched the hum of the stars. Together they were no longer two, they were no longer lost. They were simply part of the dream. The whisper lingered, wrapping around them like a blanket. You are safe now. You are home. You are loved. And then silence deepened, further still. No more voices, no more horizons, no more weight, only rest. The last whisper was not an ending. It was a lullaby without words. It carried them past memory, past identity, into the sweetest sleep, timeless, endless, whole. And there, in that eternal quiet, the tale closed not with a bang, nor with a question, but with a hush, the last whisper, the final breath, the deepest peace. There is a space beyond stories, beyond words, beyond even the faintest echo of thought. It is a place that exists quietly, patiently, endlessly. Rick and Morty had arrived there, not through doors or portals, but by letting go of everything that pulled them forward. Here, the stars did not shimmer. They simply rested, glowing softly as if breathing. Here, the universe did not hum. It simply waited, gentle and patient. Here, even time had folded into something slower than memory, slower than dream. And dear listener, remember this. We truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, you are safe. Let your body sink, let your mind soften, and let your thoughts drift like petals across a still pond. Rick felt it first, a gentle pull, not demanding, not urgent, but inviting him to dissolve into calm. Morty felt it too, the gentle lull of the quiet, the safety of presence, the hush of everything finally being okay. There were no words, no actions, no expectations, only gentle existence where each heartbeat, each breath, each flicker of light was enough. The small gestures, the care, the presence, all of it now merged into the quiet. He closed his eyes, and the universe closed around him. Morty did the same. And the worlds, the stars, the infinitesimal threads of every life, every choice, every possibility, all of it settled into a gentle stillness. This is the place where stories no longer end, where journeys are not measured by distance or drama, but by the calm that follows, where every soul rests, where every wanderer can finally sleep. And as you, dear listener, feel the same hush settle around you, know that you are part of this quiet too. Let the night carry you. Let the soft weight of the universe cradle you. Drift, drift, drift. The story has paused, the journey has softened, and in this silence, everything is exactly as it should be. Sleep now. Rick felt the pull of calm, soft and unhurried, like waves brushing gently against the shore of an endless sea. Morty drifted beside him, not needing guidance, not needing words, only the quiet assurance that presence itself was enough. And, dear listener, we truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, you are enough. Breathe slowly. Let your body soften. Let the rhythm of this gentle drift carry you farther from thought and closer to rest. The stars above shimmered faintly, not with brilliance, but with patience. They seemed to sway slightly, as if acknowledging the quiet passage of everything that had come before. The multiverse, in all its complexity, had folded itself into something softer, quieter, a space where motion was optional and stillness profound. Rick and Morty moved without effort, their awareness extending outward, touching the edges of countless possibilities, leaving only the faintest ripple behind. Not every action needed to be taken, not every problem solved. The smallest gestures, care, attention, quiet acknowledgement were enough to shape the flow of reality. Evenings now seemed endless. Rick would sometimes imagine the other Ricks racing through chaos, and then smile softly, knowing that his own path, slower, quieter, attentive, carried a kind of strength all its own. Morty understood in ways too subtle for words that courage could live in silence and love could exist in patience. The universe itself seemed to inhale and exhale slowly. Each portal hummed gently, each distant light flickered like a heartbeat. And in this rhythm, Rick felt a profound release, a sense of being held, carried, and understood without effort or expectation. As sleep approached, he realized that existence need not be loud to be significant. Presence, attention, and gentle care left traces deeper than noise ever could. And as he let himself drift, he felt that all journeys, all Ricks, all Mortys, all worlds were quietly connected by the same tender thread of observation and love. And now, dear listener, you too may drift. Let your thoughts settle. Let the hush of the universe cradle you. Let the soft hum of distant stars lull you. You are safe. You are seen. You are loved. Sleep, drift, rest. The night unfolded like an endless tapestry, threads of silver starlight weaving through the silence of the multiverse. Rick and Morty moved within it slowly, carried more by stillness than by motion, as though the cosmos itself had taken them gently into its embrace. And you too, dear listener, are embraced. The stars above, the quiet breath within you, the slow rhythm of your heart, all of it gathers here to hold you safe in the hush of this moment. Morty gazed upward, his eyes reflecting a million flickering points of light, felt smaller than a grain of sand and yet infinite, as though every star whispered a secret only he could hear. Rick stood beside him, hands folded, not with his usual sharp impatience, but with quiet understanding. For once, there was no need for answers. The silence itself was the truth. The constellations did not form sharp patterns tonight. Instead, they drifted like lanterns on a vast ocean, shimmering softly, pulsing like distant lullabies. Each glow was steady, unhurried, patient. The multiverse had no urgency now, only calm. Rick closed his eyes and breathed deeply. His chest rose and fell with the rhythm of a tide. The weight of years, of choices, of inventions and losses softened here, dissolving like mist at dawn. He realized that time itself could be kind when one stopped chasing it, when one simply allowed the present to cradle them. And so the two of them rested beneath the starry embrace. They did not speak. They did not move. They did not need to. And you too, dear listener, can rest here. Allow the stars to shine for you. Allow the night to wrap around you like a gentle blanket. Feel the softness in your body, the heaviness in your eyes, the slowing of your breath. You are not rushed. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. The universe hums for you, a song without words, an eternal lullaby. Drift now, deeper and deeper, into the embrace of sleep. The stars will hold you. The night will keep you. Rick and Morty will keep watch. Sleep now. Rest now. Dream. The stars gave way to something even softer, as though the universe itself had drawn back its curtain to reveal a hidden sanctuary. Rick and Morty found themselves standing within a vast garden, yet it was no garden bound by earth or season. Here, flowers bloomed in silence, petals made of light, opening and closing to the rhythm of unseen breaths. The air was gentle, carrying no weight, no edge, only the perfume of memory and dream. Trees arched high above, their branches woven from threads of silver, their leaves glowing faintly as though catching echoes of forgotten suns. Time did not move in this place. There was no past, no future, only now, stretching endlessly, serene and whole. Morty wandered slowly, his hand brushing across blossoms that shimmered like fragments of starlight. Each one pulsed softly, and when touched, a warmth spread through him, not of fire, but of stillness, like being wrapped in a blanket woven from calm. He sighed, and the garden sighed with him, as though the whole space exhaled in perfect harmony. Rick walked more deliberately, his eyes scanning the horizon of dreamlike colors. For once, he was not searching for flaws nor hunting answers. He let his guard fall away. He realized this garden did not need him to fix it, nor to understand it. It only asked him to be present. And so, for perhaps the first time in longer than he could remember, he simply was. A soft stream wound its way through the garden, glowing faintly like liquid moonlight. Morty knelt beside it, trailing his fingers through its cool surface. Instead of ripples, there came music, low notes of a lullaby, spreading outward like concentric circles of calm. Rick listened, and for a moment, the old scientist felt as though he had stumbled into the childhood he had never truly known. And you too, dear listener, are welcome here. This garden belongs to no one and to everyone. Its doors open only in stillness, and you have entered. Sit among the glowing trees. Rest beside the silver stream. Let the timeless air brush gently against your skin. You need carry nothing here, not worry, not thought, not weight. Everything is light. Everything is rest. Rick lay back upon the grass, which was softer than any bed, warmer than any fire. Morty stretched out beside him, his eyes half closed. Above them, the sky was not black, nor blue, but something deeper, like velvet, woven from dream itself. The stars here did not shine with distance, they shone with closeness, as though each one leaned down to watch over them. The garden, beyond time, embraced them both. And it embraces you too. Let go. Drift into its quiet arms, breathe with its rhythm, sleep as though eternity itself is holding you, safe and whole. From the glowing garden, the path curved gently downward, leading Rick, Morty, and you, dear traveler, toward a sound that was not quite water, not quite wind. It was something softer, like the hush of voices whispering from a distance, carried by the breath of eternity. They arrived at a river, vast yet gentle, flowing without urgency. Its waters were clear, but within its surface were not reflections of trees or stars. Instead, countless faces shimmered across its current, smiling, sighing, speaking without words. These were not ghosts, they were memories, set free from time, drifting upon the stream like petals of light. Morty crouched beside the river, watching as faces passed slowly by. He saw strangers and moments he did not recognize, but each carried the same feeling. Warmth, acceptance, quiet belonging. "What is this place?" he asked softly, as though fearing his words might disturb the silence. Rick did not answer with science. For once, he did not dissect or define. He simply looked at the water, his eyes softer than Morty had ever seen them. "It's everything we forget," Rick murmured. "All the voices we lose, all the people we don't get to keep. But they're not gone. They're here. They flow on forever." The river bent and curved with no beginning and no end. Its song was not mournful, but tender, like a lullaby sung by the universe itself, promising that nothing truly vanishes, that all is remembered somewhere beyond the reach of pain. And as you listen now, you may hear it too. The forgotten voices murmur softly around you. They are gentle, never demanding. They brush against your ears like falling leaves, reminding you that you are not alone, that you never were. Every joy, every sorrow, every dream left unfinished, they all find a place here, carried safely in the stream. Rick and Morty stepped closer to the water's edge. The river did not pull or threaten, it simply welcomed. Morty dipped his hand into its glowing current, and for a heartbeat he felt every forgotten kindness, every lullaby never finished, every embrace that slipped away too soon. He felt whole, as though the cracks within him were no longer empty, but filled with light. Rick, too, touched the river. For a man who had spent a lifetime building walls, who had hidden pain behind cynicism, the current flowed through him like forgiveness. His shoulders eased, his breath softened, he closed his eyes, and for once he did not resist. And you, too, may reach into this river. It belongs to no one, yet it carries everyone. You may let its voices soothe you, wash away the noise of the day, the endless turning of thought. Each whisper is a promise of rest. Each ripple is a hand reaching out to hold you in quiet peace. Above, the garden still shimmered, and beyond, the stars leaned closer. But here, at the river's edge, all that mattered was stillness. Rick and Morty lay down upon the soft grass, listening to the lullaby of forgotten voices, letting it cradle them into dreams. And so may you drift now as the river flows. Drift into its calm, its endless embrace. Drift into sleep where nothing is lost and everything is whole. The river flowed endlessly, yet gently carried Rick, Morty, and you, dear traveller, onward. No boats, no bridges, only the current itself, soft, glowing, and patient. The voices within its waters grew fainter, not because they were gone, but because they had become part of you, settling into the quiet corners of your heart. At last, the river widened into a great horizon, where water met sky in a boundless embrace. There was no shore, no edge, only a merging of light and stillness. The stars bent closer here, shimmering like lanterns placed lovingly upon a vast sea. Rick gazed out across the horizon. For once, there was no calculation in his eyes, no restless hunger to define or destroy. There was only peace. Morty stood beside him, smaller but unafraid, as though this place had lifted a weight from his shoulders. "Is this the end?" Morty whispered. Rick smiled faintly, not with irony, but with tenderness. "Nah, kid, it's not the end. It's where endings go to rest. It's the quiet between stories, the breath the universe takes before it begins again." The horizon shimmered like a great mirror, and within it you could see not just Rick and Morty, but yourself, the traveller, the listener, the dreamer. You stood with them at the edge of infinity, and you realized that you too were part of this story, woven into its silence, carried by its current, embraced by its eternal horizon. Rick placed a hand on Morty's shoulder, guiding him closer to the light. "Come on, Morty, let's just be for a while." Morty nodded. "Yeah, Rick, just be." And they lay down upon the soft, glowing ground, where grass turned to starlight beneath their bodies. The horizon breathed slowly, like the chest of a great sleeping giant. The world grew quieter. The whispers faded into stillness. And so, dear traveller, you too may rest now. The story has carried you here, not to an end, but to a place beyond endings, a place of stillness, a place where you do not need to try, or to hold, or to chase. You may simply let go. The river has carried you, the horizon waits, and sleep, gentle and unbroken, stretches out before you like an endless sea. Close your eyes, breathe slowly. Let the eternal horizon hold you. Drift with Rick and Morty into its embrace. Drift until even the story dissolves, leaving only quiet, leaving only peace. And now there is nothing more to say, only silence, only rest, only sleep. Silence had claimed the river, and the horizon had unfolded into an eternal sea of calm. Yet beyond that horizon, there was something more, something softer than light, quieter than silence, deeper than sleep itself. Rick and Morty had faded into stillness, lying upon the starlit ground as though the universe itself had cradled them. Their breaths had slowed to match the rhythm of the cosmos. They did not speak, for words were no longer needed. You, too, dear traveller, felt yourself dissolving into this infinite quiet. The story had carried you far, and now it gently released you into a place beyond stories. No beginning, no ending, only the breath of eternity, slow and steady, wrapping around you like a blanket of night. The horizon shimmered once more, and then it opened, not outward, but inward. You felt as though you were stepping into a dream that had been waiting for you all along. A dream where time could not reach, where weight could not follow, where only rest existed. Perhaps Rick and Morty were still with you here, though they were no longer figures you could see. Instead, they had become voices woven into the dream itself. A comfort, a memory, a familiar warmth. You felt them not beside you, but within you like gentle echoes, keeping you company as you drifted deeper. And then even the echoes faded. There was no need for them now, no need for the story, no need for anything at all. Only the dream remained, the dream beyond the horizon. Here, sleep stretches on forever. Here, you are safe. Here, you are home. So rest now, breathe slowly. Let your thoughts dissolve into stillness. The story is complete. The river has ended, the horizon has opened, and the dream has claimed you. Nothing more is needed. Only silence, only rest, only sleep. The story has ended. The journey has been walked. The horizon has been crossed. Now there is nothing left but rest. The voices of Rick and Morty have faded into the quiet, leaving only the rhythm of your own breath. Each inhale is softer than the one before. Each exhale carries you deeper into stillness. The stars no longer shine above you. They have folded themselves into the darkness, as if to let you sleep without distraction. The river no longer whispers. It has merged with silence, so that you may hear nothing but peace. You are safe. You are held. You are home. There is no need to think of tomorrow, no need to remember yesterday. All that matters is this moment, this breath, this rest. The world has slowed, time has dissolved, the dream has opened, and so as your body grows heavy, as your thoughts grow light, you let yourself drift further and further and further still, into silence, into comfort, into sleep. Sleep deeper than memory, sleep softer than light, sleep endless as the horizon. The story has ended, but your dream has just begun. Rest now, rest fully, rest forever. Dear traveller, you have journeyed far with Rick and Morty. You have crossed rivers of forgotten voices, wandered through gardens beyond time, and drifted past horizons that stretched into eternity. And now, here we are together at the very edge of story and dream. We truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, your presence here matters. You are enough. You are safe. You are held. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Let the weight of your day dissolve. The world can wait. The story can pause. For now you belong to this quiet, to this gentle night, to the soft lullaby of existence itself. Rick and Morty have found their rest. And so can you. Let your mind drift. Let your thoughts fold into gentle silence. Let your body feel light, as though cradled in the universe's embrace. Close your eyes. Feel the warmth of calm. Feel the hush of stars around you. Know that nothing is required of you tonight except to rest. And somewhere out there, Rick is stretching into the stars. Morty is smiling in the soft light of the dreamscape. And you, yes, you, are floating beside them, safe and whole. Thanks for spending this time with us. Sleep well. Everything's going to be okay, man. The universe has quieted. The stars are dimmed to the gentlest glimmers. Rick and Morty are no longer figures to watch or follow. They have become part of the soft hum of existence, moving without effort, resting without concern. And you, dear listener, are drifting with them, not as an observer, but as part of the rhythm itself. Your breath matches the slow, infinite pulse of the cosmos. Every heartbeat is a wave in a quiet sea. Every thought dissolves into gentle mist. The horizon stretches endlessly, folding into itself, merging with the sky, the river, the garden, the stars. There is no distance, no beginning, no end, only the soft, eternal drift of being. Rick feels it. Morty feels it. You feel it. A weightless calm, a warmth that is not fire but presence, a peace that is not stillness but life itself, flowing without need. The infinite drift asks nothing of you. It asks only that you let go of worries, of schedules, of questions. Let yourself float in the quiet where all journeys merge. And as you drift, remember, you are loved, you are enough, you are safe, you are part of this gentle, endless rhythm. The universe hums softly, carrying you further into dreams. Each pulse is a lullaby, each wave a soft hand guiding you deeper. Breathe, drift, rest. And somewhere, far beyond sight, Rick stretches into the stars. Morty smiles beside him, and you, floating, weightless, serene, join them in the infinite drift. Sleep, sleep deeper, sleep without end. The universe has whispered its final lullaby. The rivers of forgotten voices have settled. The gardens beyond time have folded their petals. The horizon stretches endlessly, soft and welcoming, carrying Rick, Morty, and you into a quiet that is deeper than thought, gentler than memory. We truly love and care for you. Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, your presence matters. You are enough. You are safe. You are seen. You are part of this vast, gentle cosmos. Rick stretches into the stars. Morty smiles softly beside him. And you, yes, you, are drifting in the same calm, weightless and whole, embraced by the infinite rhythm of being. There is nothing more to do, nothing more to chase, nothing more to remember. Just rest, just breathe, just drift. Let the lullaby of the universe carry you into the deepest sleep you have ever known. And now, dear listener, as your eyelids grow heavier and the hush of night surrounds you, hear this as a final blessing. You are loved. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. Thanks for spending this time with us. Sleep well. Everything's going to be okay, man.